My guest today is Donald Kom, Electric Services Director with Ames Electric Services. Don, welcome to the show.
Well, it's good to be here. Thank you.
Well, like most days of the week, you have a lot going on right now. Lots of big projects at Ames Electric Services. One of the most noticeable one is probably the 161 kV tie line.
Sure. For your listeners, not only do we have generation inside the city, we also have major power lines that connect us to the outside grid, to the electrical grid. Currently, we have two lines that serve us. One heads over towards Boone. The other one heads straight south down 69 towards Johnston. One of the things that we've been looking at for several years is how to improve the reliability of our electrical system. And the way we do that is by having as many interconnections with outside sources and as many generation sources as is prudent. For the last several years now, we've been working on a project to build a high voltage line from Ames to a substation located in northeast Ankeny.
Yeah, now having those connections to outside our community gives us options if something would happen to the generation that either that we're producing or that we're able to get from the outside.
You use the word options. I'd prefer to use the word redundancy. People count on electricity in their everyday life. When they flip a switch, they want their lights to come on. With this redundancy, we can take any line, any transformer, a generator out of service for maintenance, or maybe something happens to it, and we'll have a redundant or backup system that immediately kicks in and prevents no loss of power.
I think this was never any more clear than when we had a rather significant outage, and I believe it was last year?
Yes, it was. Last summer we did have an outage. It wasn't just a tree branch, but it was an entire tree that took out one of our major sources of power. When that occurred, we actually had what's called a blackout in the city of Ames.
Now, it wasn't significant in that people were out of power for a long period of time. I think what it was significant for those in the profession was the lack of redundancy.
Yes, and had we had this line in service, this new line that we're currently constructing, that outage would not have occurred.
So people may have noticed this line coming up because the poles are really significantly sized.
Mm-hmm. With the higher voltage, with the size of the transmission that we use, you're needing to put those things on very tall poles. If anybody drives along the interstate south of Ames, you'll see a lot of the poles going up on the east side of Interstate I-35.
And then East 13th Street, East Lincoln Way.
They go out East Lincoln Way. They come out of what we call as the Ames plant substation, head down Lincoln Way, across the interstate, head south, and then kind of dogleg back to the interstate.
And when will this project be completed?
We're going to have this thing in service by Christmas time of this year.
So this is a multi-month kind of connection.
Very much so. We've actually got a crew that's been in here since November of last year. First they'll install the poles, which is what people are seeing going up now. Then they'll go back and string the high voltage wires and then terminate those ends both in Ames and in Ankeny.
So they actually string those wires in the fall and winter?
Sure, they'll work year round. In fact, the more of the poles that we could get installed in the wintertime, the less impacts on fields, yards, crop damage, things like that.
Well, it's been a really interesting project to follow, and you can see that I guess at the end of the year then it will be wrapping up.
Yep. We're extremely excited to put that in service because that does give us some much needed redundancy.
Great. Well, we certainly hope for no power outages this summer. One thing that we do promote, and I know that the electric utility is a big promoter of conservation. You have lots of programs that direct people how to conserve and why it's important. Tell us a little bit about one that I'm curious about, the Primetime Power program.
Primetime Power is one of our programs under our umbrella called Smart Energy. Primetime Power is a program where on any residential style air conditioner, we'll come out, install a box, and it ties into your air conditioner. Then during our absolute peak periods, when energy consumption's at its absolute highest, we can use those boxes to cycle those air conditioners. So if we have 10,000 air conditioners in Ames, for a short period of time, about 7.5 minutes every half hour, we'll cycle through all of the air conditioners in Ames. And you'd think that, well, how much or what can that do for the city? that actually is a tremendous advantage for the utility and for our customers because it lowers our peak by 3 to 4 megawatts when that happens. And a megawatt's a measure of power.
And just to put that in perspective, how many megawatts did we hit when we hit a peak?
Our all-time peak happened last summer, and that was about 130 megawatts. What's significant in keeping our peaks down is as we continue to hit new peaks, the utility, the city has to start looking at new forms of generation, more generation to meet those ever-increasing peaks. So if we can reduce how quickly we're growing, or if we can stop growing, that pushes off our need for that next expensive generating unit.
Because you're required to be able to generate enough power for the peak plus 10%?
Currently it's about 6%. So whatever our peak is, we must have that much generation available to us plus a 6% reserve or a margin.
So obviously keeping that peak low then really takes on a lot more significance than just a number. It means more than that.
And we are getting close to hitting that peak number. Current projections are telling us that probably by 2020 we're going to need additional generation. Now if we can continue to slow or eliminate these new peaks, that will get pushed off farther and farther, which not eliminates, but delays the need to make major capital investments into generation. And with that then keeps our rates lower than they would be with this new generation.
Okay, so I'm a customer and I sign up for Primetime Power. What's in it for me?
I hope you've already signed up, Susan.
I have already signed up.
All right, very good. What happens is we install these boxes. We pay for the box, we pay for the installation. Then on your home bill, you'll see a $5 credit for the 4 summer months. So you get a credit. We control your air conditioner. Typically it's 1 or 2 days a year. And it helps the customers, it helps the utility, and it'll help the customer's bill.
So you're not really turning off my air conditioner most days in the summer. It's just certain times in the summer, and then only for the 7.5 minutes out of each half hour.
That's correct. We look at when we start approaching that new peak, we'll make a decision if we should operate our Primetime Power program. We'll then start it off. Typically it's about 2, 3 in the afternoon, and it'll run till about 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night for the most severe, the most high energy usage days of the year.
What are some other things people can do to conserve energy? I know there's a lot of, lowering the drapes.
Mm-hmm. Well, first and foremost, if you're looking at putting in a new air conditioner, one of the things that's looked at on new air conditioners is something called a SEER rating. The higher the SEER rating, the most efficient it is. First, we offer a rebate. So if you put in a air conditioner with a SEER rating, anything 14.5, 15, 16, we'll offer a rebate to help defray the cost of that more efficient unit. The customer continues to benefit in that every time that air conditioner runs, it uses less electricity. So it further helps you on your electric bill every time it runs. So we have a lot of rebates in that area. You bring up more passive things like, yes, closing drapes and things like that, so you're not getting that hot sun coming in and heating up your home is one thing. Another thing that helps a lot of people is before you turn on that air conditioner or in conjunction with an air conditioner, run ceiling fans. You'd be surprised just how much more cooler you can feel if your ceiling fan is running. It moves that air around, circulates it, and you can actually delay or raise the temperature slightly on your air conditioner.
Yeah, and then there's just the common sense ones of not putting on the oven, doing your dishwashing and your wash machine, running them non-peak hours, which would be early in the morning, later at night.
And I favor attending some of the outside events that are happening in Ames. Get out of the house, go to Ames on the Half Shell, go to the municipal band concert, go see a movie, something that gets you out of the house and kind of delays the need to turn that air conditioner on.
Well, great. You've had some other good news this week. One of the units that powers our power plant had been off for maintenance, and that unit's back on.
Yes. Unit 8 is our largest baseload coal-fired generating unit that sits in the off of Main Street. And we've had that down. We've done some very significant work. Did some work on what's called the superheater, replacing some tubes there. We did a 5-year overhaul. really got this unit probably in some of its best shape that it's been in the last 20 years. It's running more efficiently, and we're very excited to have that available for the summer season.
Well, it's good to have that project checked off and have it end so successfully. Well, Don, there's always a lot of stuff going on in your neck of the woods, so I'm always happy to see that you can make it over here for just a few minutes to share your thoughts with our viewers. Thanks for stopping by.
All right, thank you.
So if you're looking for a little fun this summer, don't forget that the Ames Municipal Band concerts have started. Those are on Thursday with the pre-concert at 7 p.m. and the Ames Municipal Band taking the stage at 8 p.m. at Bandshell Park on Duff Avenue. Lots of information and what to do in Ames is available on our website at cityofames.org. Well, that's our show for today. Thanks for watching, and tune in next week for This Week in Ames.